Thank you very much. We have just some minutes left to the official end, and so we will be very brief now. Just one short overview. We have heard about the general challenges for our economy or for the European economy. We have heard about the changing economy, which is very speedily. We have heard about the need to definition of new learning outcomes and new job profiles, about the need of LLL components for the teaching of teachers. We have heard about instruments, especially digital tools, and we have heard about the importance of soft skills, which are more and more important in our different world. For us and for our conference and the next process, the role of the EU cooperation is in the middle of our thinking. I have written some aspects. Firstly, the comparability of learning outcomes within Europe. The need of a very deep mutual trust. The very successful story of the European qualification framework as a good basis also for higher education and CVET. Then we need more information about the European instruments for the users, also for the migrant aspect. We have heard, and I think that's a very clear commitment in our community, the very important role of the Erasmus Plus as not only for the mobility, but also for the support of VET providers, authorities, and so on. We want to go in a direction where evidence-based policy, monitoring, data management is in the center and is one of the bases for the further developments. From our aspect as the Ministry of Economy, a very important thing is also a focus on an entrepreneurial spirit and the broad involvement of companies and persons who are concerned of VET, for instance, absolvers of a VET program. And we have heard that the public awareness for investment in VET is very high, so that we don't need to be afraid for a broad approach in this aspect.
Okay, so I think you're familiar with the following quoting. Everything has been said so far, but not by me. So now it's my turn. Okay, 1 hour minimum. No, I think, as I said yesterday, we have a twofold intention with this conference. First of all, we want to open up the discussion, to open up the field, to take all the voices into the game. Then we have to take stock of these voices. It's impossible to do it now. Nobody could do this, but we hired Peter Schlögl to do this. He will do this in the sequence of the next weeks. Until August, I think we will have results. These results will be sent to you and will feed into the process. So this is one way. And he will also try to see if there's a red thread in there. If pull out the lines or the things which are in common and make them in an analytical way and in a documentary way feasible for use. This is one thing. The second thing is that, as I talked about jogging your minds, I hope this process already is on the go. At least my mind is jogging somewhere. I don't know where. It's just around because it's so many information to process, so many things to process. And I think this is the second asset, because we need to discuss all the things very, very clearly in the next months to come up with clear ideas how we will cooperate in the future, and really provide a good line of thinking for the opinion we will discuss and conclude on in the ACVT, and for the next commission and the next programming. So we really need to come to terms with this. My mind is jogging around some ideas. And this jogging mind always says, okay, if this is true, that 70% of the learning will take place in the workplace, where you learn the most. 20% of learning is happening with your peers, and only 10% of learning is taking place in the traditional organized way. If this is the future, and if it's coming from the CEO of a cutting-edge industry, then we should take this into account. And we should take this into account, what does it tell us for our systems and our structures? And I very much appreciated that Joao took this up, the idea of systems to be built up or set up to be adaptable. I think this is the point. This is exactly the point. How adaptable are our systems? How can we make them more adaptable to the change which is unavoidable? And how can we communicate about the way of this adaptability to bring this to the ground? I think this is the key notion. And also Mara touched upon it, saying we need discussions on what we can do on European level, but we have to be open that the concrete solutions will be very diverse, and this is good so. Yeah, and the systems will be adaptable. We should work on this, and this is a good process. And the European cooperation should focus on, I think, 4 areas. One area is, what do we know about the design of systems, of working of systems? Systems being adaptable is one area. The second is clearly focus on the quality issue, promoting this further, working on this really, really hard, because this is, on the one hand, the motor for development in systems, on the other hand, a precondition for anything going into mutual recognition. And the third area is make good use of the transparency instrument, downsize them, make them slimmer, bring them together, and have this transparency package really working and being known by people. So this is the third issue. And the fourth is only take this data from us, ourselves, which we need to communicate on transnational level, and not everything we can get. Yeah? Be very brief on this. So I think these are the 4 chapters. Maybe we find them in the opinion or somewhere else or in the structuring. I think this would, for me, my jogging mind always tells me this like a mantra. So maybe I can give this for your minds for the jogging process. I wish you a fruitful thinking after this conference. I hope safe travel home. Some of you will stay for other events which are already programmed. And I enjoy Vienna if you can. And thank you for coming. Thank you for participating.